The dark eclipse. The parallax drifted silently above the lifeless surface of Europa, its hull reflecting the cold light of distant stars. Inside the war room was a cacophony of urgency. Zero stood at the command center, eyes narrowed as the ship's sensors pulsed with information. "Delta's forces are on the move," Zero's voice was sharp. "We have less than 2 hours before they hit the inner core of our defenses. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." Elena clenched her fists, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She glanced at Marcus, who was already preparing the final mission plans. "How many Malien prime forms are we talking about?" Marcus scrolled through the data, his face pale. "Thousands, more than we anticipated. Delta's army is growing exponentially with every passing minute." A holographic map flickered to life, showing the solar system, with red markers indicating the growing Malien presence. "They're spreading out, targeting key human and Zorathian strongholds," Marcus added. "They're not just attacking, they're erasing all resistance." Nyx stepped forward, her tone low but resolute. "Then we fight back, but we need something they don't expect. A new weapon. If we don't have that, they'll wipe us out." Zero nodded. "There's still one option left. The Forbidden Vault." On a remote space station hidden in the asteroid belt, General Kale and Lise stood in front of a sealed vault. The air was thick with anticipation. Lise had been quiet for too long, but the urgency in the air pulled her back into focus. "This is the last place they'd ever think to look," Kale said, his hand resting on the vault's security panel. He turned to Lass. "Are you ready?" Lass met his gaze, her dark eyes full of both determination and fear. "I've been ready for this my entire life." With a hiss, the vault opened, revealing a set of ancient, sleek pods. Inside each one lay a dormant weapon, a being whose power could shift the tide of the war. Their eyes glowed faintly, waiting. "They're the progenitors," Lys explained softly. "The first Maliens. Before Delta, before Alpha. These are the originals. What was meant to be the perfect balance between humanity and the Zorathians. The true strength of Genesis." On the battlefield, Titan's wrath. The sky above Titan's surface rippled with violent storms as Delta's forces descended. The ground trembled beneath their boots as the Malien prime forms, colossal and terrifying, surged across the barren landscape. Vrax, Nyx, and their combined forces were the first to arrive on the scene, and they wasted no time in preparing for the oncoming assault. The battle was like nothing they had seen before. Lightning cracked across the sky, and the very ground seemed to shift with the energy of the clash. "Stay focused," Vrax shouted as his troops advanced, weapons primed. "We need to push them back or we'll never get the chance to stop Delta." Just as they engaged, Delta appeared on the battlefield, his crystalline form shimmering in the unnatural light of Titan's atmosphere. He floated above the battlefield, eyes narrowed, assessing his enemies. "You cannot win," Delta's voice boomed, a resonance that shook the very air around them. "I am the inevitable, the next stage of evolution, the end of humanity's reign." Vrax gritted his teeth. "Not today, Delta." As Delta raised his hand, a rift in space opened, and a wave of Malien prime forms surged forward, their massive forms crashing into the coalition forces. The battlefield became a whirlwind of chaos as soldiers were thrown back by sheer force. The hybrids, the Zorathians, and the humans fought with everything they had, but the overwhelming tide of the prime forms seemed unstoppable. The truth revealed. Back aboard the Parallax, Marcus and Elena were piecing together the fragments of information they had gathered. The latest scans of the Malien prime forms revealed a chilling truth. "There's something wrong," Marcus murmured, scanning through the data. "These prime forms, they're evolving, they're learning." Elena stepped closer, her brow furrowed. Are you saying they're adapting faster than we can fight them? Not just that, Marcus replied. They're not just weapons. They're a collective consciousness. They share information faster than we can comprehend. If we don't stop Delta now, he'll bring the whole galaxy to its knees. Just then, Zero entered the room, his face ashen. We've lost contact with the Titan surface forces. The Prime Forms have overwhelmed them. Elena's heart sank. We need to act now. No more waiting. The arrival of the progenitors. The battle on Titan reached its apex as the coalition forces were pushed to their limits. Just as it seemed like all hope was lost, a flash of light broke through the storm clouds, and a ship descended from the sky. Inside the ship, General Kale and Lise stood with the progenitors, the first Maliens. Each one was encased in an energy cocoon, their forms tall and graceful, but their presence held an undeniable sense of power. Lise turned to Kale. This is it, the last chance we have. As the cocoon pods began to crack open, the first progenitor stepped forward, its eyes glowing with an intensity that matched Delta's own. It was the perfect fusion of human and alien, majestic and terrifying all at once. The progenitors were not just warriors, they were beings of raw potential, each one capable of shifting the tides of war. With a powerful gesture, the progenitor raised its hand to the sky, and the very atmosphere around them seemed to bend. A wave of energy surged outward, causing Delta's forces to falter for just a moment. The clash of the Titans. The battle was no longer just about weapons, it was about ideologies. Delta's vision of a perfect, evolved race clashed against the last remnants of humanity and the Zorathian Empire. The progenitors, with their unmatched strength, joined the fray, decimating the Malien prime forms with every strike. But Delta, not one to be outmatched, met the progenitors head-on. The two powerful beings collided in a burst of energy that shook the very ground beneath them. You think you can stop me, Delta hissed as his form shimmered with energy. The progenitor's eyes narrowed, their voice calm but powerful. You are not the future. You are a plague. As they fought, the skies above Titan seemed to burn with the energy of their battle, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The final move. Back on the parallax, Elena stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the conflict unfolding below. This is it, she whispered. We either win here, or we lose everything. She looked at Zero and Marcus. We have one shot at this. Fire the Genesis core. The Genesis core, a device capable of releasing an immense energy pulse, had been their last hope, but using it meant risking everything. It would unleash a power so great it could destroy not only Delta, but the entire solar system. We don't have a choice, Zero said, his voice cold and determined. Do it. Elena gave the command and the Genesis core was activated. The aftermath. As the pulse of energy tore through space, a blinding light enveloped the battlefield. Delta and the progenitor were both thrown back by the force of the explosion. The prime forms collapsed, their collective consciousness shattered. When the light faded, the battlefield was quiet. The storm clouds dissipated, and the war-torn ground of Titan lay still. Elena, Zero, and Marcus stood at the command center, watching the aftermath. Did we win? Elena whispered. For a moment there was silence. Then a voice crackled through the comms. This isn't over. It was Delta.